I used to talk to Mike before we were on teams. We were just Challenger solo queue players. He was a really big Nearly player back then. He still is now.
So low, looking for the spear, and he does hit it.
I probably had a better win record against him, but even then, that's just so long ago, and that is just going to be a completely new game. Mechanically, he is a very consistent player, but his lack of voice is holding C9 back. Compared to Contractz, I offer my team a loud voice in-game.
Good shot. Let's go on a collapse on. We can collapse on top. Yes, sir.
Mike is really good in small skirmishes. He's probably the best rookie I've seen in a while.
Gotta keep going. Oh, he is going. MikeYeung is insane.
But coming into my first LCS split, I was also a super hyped rookie.
5 solo kills for Contractz.
Ladies and gentlemen, your rookie of the split, Contractz.
MikeYeung has so much hype right now, so I just gotta kill the hype.
Let's go, 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 let's go.
Welcome to Week 7 of the North American League Championship Series. The teams facing off today need every win they can get if they want a chance at playoffs in just a few short weeks. First up, we have Contractz and Smoothie. They're going to be up against both MikeYeung and Zig. Across from them, Phoenix One looking to pick up some wins after a disappointing 0-2 week last week, while Cloud9 also struggling to some degree. It's an important match for both teams as we're also getting a look at our leaderboards here. Wild Turtle topping the all-time regular season kills. Bjergsen closing in on that 1,000 mark. Jensen still topping the tables in KDA, even while C9 struggles. And Bjergsen, player of the game leader, but close behind, many people at 6. We'll see if anyone can reach him. Hello, everyone. I'm James Dash Patterson, and somebody once told me that the world was going to roll me, but now I'm joined by the sharpest tool in the shed. I got Mark Zimmerman, so I feel a lot more at home and a lot safer with you here.
I was never around, sharp objects. My parents kept them away from me. I was in a completely dull shed. That's all they let me play with, nothing crazy.
And then you're a new guy now.
Yeah, I'm no longer playing with sharp objects. I just stand around here.
All right, well, coming into today, we've got teams fighting for some much-needed wins. It all starts with Contractz and Cloud9 opposite MikeYeung and Phoenix One, followed by Team Liquid looking to fight out of 10th versus Team Envy. Now, if we pull up the standings, we see with only 3 weeks left to go in the split, there's a surprising amount of volatility at the top of the standings. We've got 3 teams tied for first.
That's the big thing, is that we've seen a number of teams have their crack at the first place crown. Immortals was up there at the very beginning.
Along with Dignitas.
They dropped. CLG had their chance at it for a little bit. They had a surprising loss last week that leads to this 3-way tie situation where TSM finally finds their way to the top of the standings, and you see that they actually have a phenomenal game record. They've only dropped 7 compared to the other 2 teams at 11 and 12 losses respectively. So even though the match scores are close, it would seem to indicate that maybe TSM is the best team.
Right, you can cherry pick them out of those 3 as being maybe the best of the first place teams, but this is all to say that that lead has changed multiple times throughout the split. Still plenty of room for it to do so. But while we talk about those 3 teams, they're largely safe in terms of clinching a playoff spot. Got to win a couple more games to do it. So let's not concern ourselves with them. Let's concern ourselves with the other 3 slots and who's going to pick those up, join them in the postseason.
I think the big thing was Phoenix One coming off that great Rift Rivals performance. Everyone was saying they're the team to watch out for making a late season run, but they had a horrible 0-2 weekend. Ryu asked to even get stepped down as Piering gets traded back over. He'll be getting the start today, so that team seems to be in free fall. And then on the flip side, Dignitas was a team that had gone 0-4 in the last 2 weeks before last week, so everyone was ready to write them off. And then they have a phenomenal 2-0 week, and they did it largely off the back of some new picks, a very different look than we've seen out of the team in the previous performances.
A complete 180 for them in terms of the way that their split was heading with the 4-match loss streak that they had going into last week. They pick up the 2-0. They position themselves at that 7-5, so they're looking real solid. Similarly, Team Envy, let's talk about these guys. You mentioned how Pierion's traded back over to Phoenix One, means Niski is for sure their starter and only mid laner, and they've been finding success with him.
Yeah, and he had a great performance against C9 last week. One of the reasons that they were able to overtake them in the standings was this head-to-head matchup where, for the most part, Niski was left on an island versus Jensen, held up just fine against what people were calling one of the early season MVP candidates potentially. He had a great series overall, and it gave enough confidence for him to say, all right, we're moving forward with you the rest of the season, and Pierion, you're free to pursue other opportunities, gets traded back to P1.
Of course, all of these teams have to deal with the many curveballs that we like to throw at them. The biggest one this week being patch 714, coming in a lot of changes, including the introduction of Kayn. We've already seen him in the EU LCS.
Yeah, I mean, Kayn is, of course, the cool thing that you hope to see a lot more of, but what you're going to see is lethality. I mean, that's the big one. Kayn is a champion that people are still kind of figuring out exactly how he works. like you said, saw him once in the EU LCS, but there are some people who think, you know, blue Kane's not that strong, you have to get the red Kane, and then it's a little bit beyond your control sometimes if you're able to get that exactly. And then what do you do with him? Teams still have to figure out how to play with him.
Yeah, of course we saw the mechanic there where he gets to glide through walls. I think that will make for some of the most interesting elements of Kane play in the North American LCS is just to see the kind of gank paths that, you know, can develop from having that ability versus somebody like Cho'Gath. Not going to have any special gank paths with Cho'Gath, but he's still terrifying.
Yeah, Cho'Gath is super strong in this patch. Obviously, what they changed was his E, giving it that, taking it off a toggle ability into a, you press it once, you get the next 3 attacks that are empowered, has some bonus true damage, or excuse me, bonus % health damage on there now. And that's really terrifying because I was talking to Licorice, someone who played him in the Challenger Series just a couple days ago, and he was saying he thought he was in a fine spot already with the ultimate change that came through a couple patches ago, and now with this E1 thrown on top.
Pushes him over the edge.
It pushes him a little bit over the edge, so really great laning phase, great in the jungle, very terrifying once he hits late game as well because he has that huge true damage spike on the ultimate.
Right, massive frontline who can still one-shot your ADC. That's something you want to avoid. We've seen him hit the ban list even in Europe as well as being played to success. You did briefly hit Duskblade, but Lethality is coming back. Let's talk about why that is.
So the big change was that they took Lethality and it used to scale off your opponent's level when you were hitting them. Now it just scales off your own level. So if you're a solo lane champion like a Jace, this is a big buff for you, as well as the fact that Duskblade itself got a mini rework. They changed the build path with it and some of the stats that comes with it. The big thing was that the passive was very, very strong. It got hotfixed a little bit, but...
and they are playing on the hotfix here in the North American LCS. It's good to make that distinction.
Yeah, so people were mathing it out around 30 less damage at level 9, which is around when you're often picking this item up. So it is a reasonable hotfix, but at the end of the day, the item is still super strong. The lethality changes themselves make it so you might see more Kha'Zix in the jungle, you might see more Jhin Varus down the bot lane, and that Jace pick I already hit
But
on.
this excites me because we're talking about a tank, right, coming into the meta, being one of the strongest junglers, but we're also talking about assassins, and so it's going to be very fun to see what, you know, where teams put their priority. Are they going to go more heavy into the tanks, or are they going to go more heavy into the assassins? Maybe we see Zeds, Talons come back. Who knows, right? Alongside, as you mentioned, the Kha'Zix jungle could return.
That's the thing, is a lot of these 80 carry, or excuse me, 80 lethality users are people who don't want to have to deal with a lot of frontliners, and as the junglers start getting more and more powerful as tanks, you might actually see it's difficult to find an opportunity to pick something like a Talon, you said, or a Zed, or someone else you might want to spike early on with this new lethality item.
Now we'll see which teams best adapt to the patch as we send it over to our casters to get us into the games.